Let's be friends.
Have you not?
And here we go. And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, geeks and nerds and ambassadors everywhere, and welcome back to the Ambassadorial Wing and episode 2 of Ambassadorial Cinema. Sorry, I missed a week. My internet was out. I can't help it. It took a while for it to get fixed. But back live, very glad to be back live with you all this afternoon. Hope you all are having a good weekend. I am myself. And today, got another installment, another episode 2 of Ambassadorial Cinema. Matinee edition. And if this is your first visit to the Ambassador Wing, hope y'all are having a great time. Hope y'all enjoy the stream this afternoon. And by all means, if you want to join the discussion today, link is in the chat. Wrong way. Link is... I suck at game directions. Link is in the chat over here. So if you want to hop on in and discuss movies this afternoon, join the chat, join the stream. Link is there. By all means, use it. But as always, a little housekeeping. Make sure you smash that like button. Share this out with all your friends. And if you are not already subscribed to the Ambassador Wing, hit that little subscribe button down there. You'll find it. It's easy. It says subscribe. And you'll be notified. Hit notifications. Hit all notifications. Because sometimes YouTube is stupid and doesn't want to notify people when I go live. Or when anybody goes live for that matter. So... But this, for those of you that aren't familiar with this idea, it's simple. I put the link in the chat. I put the link on Twitter. If you're in one of those DMs, come on in and we talk. That's the long and short of it. Nothing complex, nothing heavy, nothing controversial. We talk movies. No movie news. You want movie news? Go somewhere else. With all due respect. And I do want to say hello to everybody in the chat, whether you're watching on Twitter or on YouTube. Good to see all of you. Good to see some familiar faces. Lewis Cox, Mladen Kulik, and of course my good friend, fellow council member, Mountains of Elysium. Fellas, good to see you all today and hope you enjoy the stream. And of course, I am not alone today. Today I've got a good friend of the channel, a good friend of mine. I have been on his channel. He has been on mine more times than we both care to count, and it's always a good time. It's always a good discussion. So, give a very warm ambassadorial welcome to my friend and yours, Orange Hat Reviews.
Hey, everybody.
Hey,
how y'all doing? How y'all doing?
So, doing just fine. So, all right, Orange. You're my guest. I'm your host. What movie you want to talk about? Or movies, for that matter?
Well, there's two of them. And, I think I'll start with the weirdest one I have ever seen. There's a movie from the 80s, folks, and it stars Roddy Piper. It's not They Live. It is
one of my favorite wrestlers.
Movie. Yeah, it's a movie called Hell Comes to Frogtown. Folks. This movie.
Hell? Yeah. Okay. Hell Comes to Frogtown. That's a hell of a title.
Yeah. And I gotta say, this movie, it seems like it is a rejected porn plot. Because... oh my God! What they have in this movie is pure '80s toxic or '80s masculinity, and yeah, that. And I'm hearing music.
Wow. Is that too loud or is that okay?
No. That's just kind of took me off a little bit.
For me, turn. Sorry,
but
I'm just trying to listen a little different. You can. Yeah,
it's all right. And so yeah, this movie is basically post-apocalyptic, nuclear war, and men who are fertile, who have sperm that works, they are conscripted into the world effort to repopulate the world. And are we allowed to swear here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just checking.
Yes.
Okay, good, because
Just no blaspheming. You know that.
yeah. Essentially, there's a line in this movie where Roddy Piper, he's like, "Okay, I gotta fuck for freedom," and I'm like, yeah, and he gets a chastity belt kind of gig where they wire him to pardon the expression, blow his nuts if he tries running away from this assignment, so to speak. They literally have this kind of like underwear that's metal but also has C4 wired in it. So yeah, that happens. It doesn't happen to him, but also this movie has pretty attractive women back then. And there's this one where they actually are going down to a place called Frogtown because there's these frog people. And I'm thinking to myself, this is going to go in so many different ways that is just so nuts. And folks, it does. I mean, here's how crazy it is. They find one woman who is a fertile female that they're supposed to be rescuing, and she is so feral that they sedate her and then give her something to put her in the mood, shall we say. And this woman is feral. She doesn't speak. She doesn't do any of that. After he does the deed with her, they don't show that, thank God. But after she does the deed, she is so civilized. She's got clothes. She's all clean. And I'm like, what did he do to her? I'm thinking to myself, what did he do?
He
Go ahead.
He bleeped some civilization into her.
Pretty much. And the main female in this, I can't remember her name. It's kind of a nice name too. She has panties and bra that are laced but also camouflage. So I'm thinking to myself, what on earth? I mean, wow. This movie, folks,
camouflage lingerie
with lace, with 80s
camouflage
lace.
lingerie. That's a
yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, what? Sorry.
What the heck? No, I'm camouflage underwear with lace on it.
Mm-hmm.
That is a combination I did not know existed, and I've honestly never heard of this movie.
Apparently, it exists in the 80s, man, and it is just one of those weird, because at the end it's a happy ending, and she's like, well, you're gonna have to do your duty before we can get together. And then he's like, duty. And so they both look back, and there's all these freaking hot women just looking at him, smiling like, yeah. And he's like, well, I guess it's true what they say, a soldier's work is never done.
pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good grief. And Chef Zilla, we're talking about Hell Comes to Frogtown, starring Roddy Piper. And let's be honest here. And Chef Zilla, it has been a very long time since I've seen you, so welcome back, buddy. You should be here today. Good. The 80s is the only place that this movie could have existed. Maybe the 70s. But
It's well, let me look it up.
I've never seen. I'm gonna have to look this. I'm gonna have to look. I'm gonna have to see if there's any like scenes of it from on YouTube or something, because at least clean scenes from the sounds of it. This movie sounds a little bit like Barbarella.
Sandal Bergman.
Sure
she was the main female in the movie, but this movie's from 1988. And there's a sequel, apparently.
Yeah, Melendez put it in the chat. They did a sequel to this?
Yeah, Return to Frogtown in 1993.
What? How? Did it also star Roddy Piper?
No. Charles Napier, Don Stroud. No, it
Charles
doesn't have
Napier. I know Charles Napier is.
Yeah. Robert Zadar directed that one. Or no, Robert Zadar plays Sam Hell, the same character that Roddy Piper played in.
So the guy's last name is actually Hell.
Yeah. Hell Comes to Frogtown. And they make, oh my god, this dude has like a humongous freaking chin. He makes Bruce Campbell's chin look small. The guy that they have play in the second movie.
Oh dear heavens! Charles Napier, I know who that actor is. He was he was in Rambo First Blood Part 2. He played the one guy that lied his ass off, and Rambo threatens him at the end. He's like, "You better find me, because if you don't, I'll find you." That was Charles Napier. He's. Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry. I'm gonna share the screen, and
Okay.
I gotta show. It's like, does this dude look like Roddy Piper to you for the sequel?
I don't know. I'll have to wait and see what the picture looks like.
Well, it's shared, so.
Okay. Not even close.
Yeah.
No. What? This guy has an incredibly fat face. Could call him Jabba the Face.
Right.
And Milan has a very good point here. Let me bring this up. Leprechaun has sequels. Why are you surprised? Hell Comes to Frogtown has one as well.
Good point.
And you're not wrong. All right, let's get this guy's face off of here, because I don't want to scar people.
Yeah, I mean, this movie is just absolutely like, why? What was the purpose of this movie? It was so hilarious that, I mean, it's
to
so
give Roddy Piper.
It's so bad, it's good. Let's just say that.
Go. Yeah. Chef Zilla said the same thing. Hell Comes to Frogtown. It's so bad, it's good. It's like The Room, only not as horrific with better acting. Funny thing, I have never actually seen The Room. I've only seen Nostalgia Critic's review of it. I think I need to watch The Room at least once. Oh hell! All right, I bring this up, Lois Cox. It's funny that Family Guy called an episode "Hell Comes to Quahog" about this movie.
Oh my god!
Oh dear lord! So Hell Comes, and Milan also brings us that same guy from Samurai Cop.
Yeah.
Which I don't think I've ever actually seen. I don't usually watch really bad cheese. There might be a little bit of a delay, Orange, and that's okay. I'm not too worried about it, honestly. So, anyway,
yeah.
All right, we're gonna turn off music because honestly, it's getting a little annoying for me. So
yeah, it does kind of throw you off, doesn't it?
I wanted to try that, see if it worked. So. just a little bit. So, okay. All right, I will give you a bad cheesy movie. Everything. This is one that we got on VHS way back in the day when I was a teenager. It stars Joe Piscopo, Treat Williams, and Vincent Price and Darren McGavin. If you remember that, if the dad from A Christmas Story. It's called Dead Heat. And essentially, Enterprise, you don't see him until almost the very end of the movie. He has like 2 scenes in the whole film. He plays an industrialist that owns a pharmaceutical company that is experimenting with a drug that will prolong people's lives and everything. And I think it will cause them not to die, but it will also turn them into zombies. Sort of. Where they don't turn them into zombies, but they're zombies, but they don't look like zombies unless they keep taking the drug. And Treat Williams and Joe Piscopo play a pair of cops. And Treat Williams is the straight-laced cop. Joe Piscopo is the loose cannon. Think a little bit like Lethal Weapon, except with the undead. And it is a hysterically campy bad movie, but at the same time, it is. You have Vincent Price playing this playing this character called Charles Loudermilk, and you have Darren McGavin, who is like the second the second head of the company. He's like the senior vice president or something. And you have decomposing people. You have a woman who's in love with Treat Williams' character, but it turns out that she's also been taking the drug because she's also dead. And she eventually starts to decompose right in front of Treat Williams' eyes, right in front of him. And it's the decomposition scenes are gruesome but campy at the same time, because the practical effects, they're okay, but they're not like high quality practical effects. They're like B movie budget practical effects.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard of this movie at all?
I may have heard it in mention, but never heard anything about it.
You've actually seen it?
No.
My mother still has a copy of the movie. But it is horrendously goofy and silly and bad. Another one, or did you want to talk about the other movie you had that you wanted to discuss?
Well, there's another one this one's a lot more family friendly. It's about two brothers inheriting a house in which the owner was found dead, locked in a trunk. And it's called Mouse Hunt. And folks, if you haven't seen Mouse Hunt, I highly suggest
I've seen this movie.
Yeah. I mean, this movie is Nathan Lane or what's his name? Plays his brother.
Matthew Broderick. Matthew Broderick.
No, not Matthew Broderick.
No, it isn't. It isn't. I'm thinking of the producers. Oh hell! I know who you're talking about, but I can't think of the actor off the top of my head. I can look it up.
I'm looking it up.
I'll pull it up now. Okay, fine. Well, also John Goodman's in it. He plays. Is it John Goodman? No, it's not John Goodman.
Nope.
Who is it that plays the exterminator? I'm thinking of Arachnophobia.
Lee Evans. And Christopher Walken
Who
plays
is
the
it that plays
Exterminator.
Christopher Walken. Yeah, Christopher Walken plays the Exterminator. That's right.
Folks, this is a Christopher Walken who has PTSD from Nam. And I'm thinking to myself,
Yeah.
dear God. Maybe this guy might actually be able to catch this mouse. However, it turns out that he ends up getting locked in the trunk. And he ends up going nuts himself. I mean, this mouse versus this guy, or then they send a cat named Catzilla, and then I mean they try everything to kill this cat, and then imagine
you mean
this.
The mouse?
Yeah, imagine this. They accidentally hit it and knock it out because they're fighting each other, and they throw fruit or they throw orange at it and knock it out. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God. And it's like, just imagine how much time we would have saved if we would just throw fruit at it.
Yeah, and then what ends up happening is they have a string. They inherit a string factory from the guy that played the Uncle Lewis from National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Mm-hmm.
The old curmudgeon Uncle Lewis. He said he lights a cigar. The tree goes poof because it's too dry.
Yeah, William Hickey played.
I think
the
he's
father.
like their uncle or something for the two brothers.
Nope.
Might have been the father. Yeah. Okay,
yep,
father.
William Hickey.
So. Oh Lord.
And man, was he bone thin during this movie. Yeah. He was bone thin.
Yeah. So Christopher Walken as an Exterminator was playing himself. Yes,
essentially, he was playing himself. And I just love how he handles it all. I mean, he's just like, yeah, you got asbestos, all right. It's up on the 3rd floor, mostly. And then they all start play acting, and he's like, what are you doing? He's not listening no more. And, oh my God, it is so freaking hilarious.
It is. First time I ever watched this movie, it wasn't in theaters. We rented it from Blockbuster because I was like, just wanted to try something different. And me and Mother Ambassador were laughing our heads off at this movie because everything they tried to catch this mouse failed. And in the end, what happens? They open a string cheese factory, and the mouse is like the taste tester.
Yep, because
they
mouse
convert the string factory into a string.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
The mouse
puts
a chunk of cheese in the string maker. And it's like, it's string, it's cheese. And they see that the mouse didn't die because they thought the mouse died when the house collapses. And they're trying to sell the house for $20 million. Yeah, because
they tried everything.
Yeah.
They tried everything to catch this mouse, and they end up blowing up the house.
Not blowing it up, but they end up collapsing it, and it's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Let's see here, man. There we go. I had to plug my phone charger back in.
Oh wow, Milan brings up a very good point.
Yep.
Gore Verbinski directed Mouse Hunt. This doesn't sound like something he would direct. Just looked it up. It was a lot. Yes, it does. Yes, it very much does, Milan. Let's see. Gotta get this down.
I mean, I really also like the.
I mean, let's be honest.
The portraits of their dad, how it keeps on changing in certain scenes, which is also hilarious.
I remember that. The the thing I remember is how that mouse is so industrious and so clever that it outsmarts 3 humans and a cat. And I'm thinking, what ends up happening is the mouse actually ends up saving them, saving their factory, saving their father's legacy, and they become filthy, stinking rich. And I'm thinking, you kept trying to kill the very thing that was going to make you rich. Instead of the goose that laid the golden egg, it was the cat. It was the mouse that laid the cheese, the golden cheese.
Yep. And I absolutely love this movie. I mean, there are so many funny bits in this movie that you just can't stop laughing. They set out like hundreds of mouse traps, and they all get caught in it because this mouse dodges every single one of them, goes up and drops a freaking cherry into the mix, which tips off one mouse trap, setting them all off at once, and so they go through everything. Yeah, and then also during the Christopher Walken one, he ends up accidentally dropping a flashbang grenade or something, which the brothers end up accidentally shooting, which blows a humongous hole in the floor. Oh my god.
Oh dear Lord. I think I remember that.
Yeah. See you in hell, mouse.
And
boom.
It's you know, Beans were kind of on the bent of movies so bad they're good. As much as I love this movie, I will say this is in theory and in category a bad movie, but it is a movie that I love. Yeah. And yes, I know it's by a director not everybody likes. I understand that. The other night I had gotten home from work and I had just had a really cruddy shift. And I was like, and not to mention my back and my arthritis was acting up. So I was like, I need to compress and watch something funny. So I popped in Clerks 2. And, as much as I like this, as much as I like Kevin Smith, and I do, most everybody knows this, I have to say it is a medium budget bad movie or B movie. Because if you think about it, this movie in all possible ways should not work. Because it's the two guys, Dante and Randall, they're back, but they're instead of working at a convenience store, they're now working at a fast food restaurant. And it's just, and it has a scene where a guy is having relations with a donkey. And if that is not a staple for a bad movie, I don't know what is. Anything that involves humans and animals doing things that they should not do, that to me is a marker of a B movie, of a bad movie. But a bad movie so good it's bad.
Yikes. So. That is yikes.
Okay. Another one I was gonna, or was there something else about my son you wanted to discuss?
Mm-hmm. Nope.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. This is one that I had a couple I wanted to discuss too. If you want to stick around for them, you can. If you don't want to, Orange, you don't have to. This is back last month. I got several new movies on here, I think on Blu-ray or 4K. And I was like, what the hell? I have the first one. I'm gonna get. I got Shazam 2, Fury of the Gods.
I watched that recently.
Did you? Okay. Well, then we both have frame of reference then. I have to say it. The first, 30 minutes to an hour of Shazam 2 was a struggle.
Yeah.
For me, it was a real struggle. The only thing that kept me going was the fact that you had Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu as goddesses, essentially. Well, not essentially. You had them as goddesses, Greek goddesses. Calypso and... Oh, what was Helen Mirren's character's name?
I forget. They were the
This is gonna
three
drive me
titans,
nuts.
or they were the three daughters of Atlas.
Yeah, they were $3 of Atlas because you had Calypso, you had Athena, and you had... I am drawing a freaking blank. Helen Mirren's character. And I can see now why this movie bombed as horrendously as it did. I mean, okay, there are good parts to Shazam 2. There are good bits in it. But I don't know what happened between Shazam 1 and Shazam 2. But Zachary Levi went from a halfway decent actor to not being a halfway decent actor.
Right.
Everything, because his performance in Shazam 2, at least the first hour or so of the movie, I could not stand him.
Yeah. There are three names.
And George, it's fine,
I
bud. I appreciate you just being here. Okay.
They're Anthea, Calypso, and Hespera.
Hespera. Yeah. I don't know what the hell happened. I don't know if it was bad writing, if Zachary Levi just was kind of phoning it in or what, but his performance as Shazam, as Billy, well, not granted, just as Shazam, I just wanted to reach through the screen and go, dude, your family wants to move on and do other things besides be superheroes.
True.
Let them
it's an
do other things like superheroes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
the thing that was
well, they're foster parents. They go ahead.
The thing that was craziest about me was, or that I thought was the craziest thing. I mean, I get that some people are some way, or some people have this or that, but when they bring in Skittles as a replacement for ambrosia, which is literally nectar of the gods, and I'm thinking to myself, please tell me you are not going to go there. And they went there because unicorns, or the darker version of unicorns, are in this, and they literally go, taste the rainbow, mother effers. Yeah. And I'm like, no, you did not just freaking say that in a movie. And I'm thinking to myself, yes,
they did.
No, they did. And I mean, the best part of this whole movie was the final battle, where he sacrifices himself. Yeah. I mean, spoilers ahead. Yeah, where he shortens the bubble, or that barrier bubble, and he just uses a bunch of lightning to be bouncing all over so he can absorb it. Yeah. And I gotta say, that was actually a good sequence. And there was a few other sequences that were okay. But other than that, this movie, yikes, man. Yikes. It had problems.
Yeah. And I'll bring up a lens. Yeah. He said, and hey, if you got a different opinion, bud, you enjoyed it, that's fine. I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it, but it was difficult to. The movie was kind of difficult, at least the first 20 or 30 minutes. It was really hard to get through, and then once they started, I was interested in the three goddesses, Hespera, Calypso, and Athena. But Billy and Shazam, well, Shazam more so because you don't see Billy that much in the movie and everything compared to the first one. I get the idea he's trying to hang on to his family because he's afraid that they're going to kick him out and everything because he's going to turn 18 soon. But and and the one sister thing, the really smart one, she's like, their foster parents, they're not getting as much money as they were and everything taking care of them, and they're going to lose the house. And then the house gets destroyed, and then magically the house is getting rebuilt. Now, I don't know if they're building it in the Rock of Ages or whatever, but they're rebuilding it. They're rebuilding it at the end of the movie, and Shazam ends up sacrificing himself, but then they take his remains back to, I
Essentially
don't know what it is,
Olympus.
Olympus or whatever, and they no, it's not Olympus, but it's where Hespera and all of them were living at the time. Or it's the God realm, let's just call it that and everything. And then Gal Gadot shows up, and he's stuttering and stammering after he's resurrected and everything. I'm like, okay, you kill him, and then 20 minutes later or 10 minutes later, you resurrect him. It kind of sucks the
it removes the stakes.
Impact of him sacrificing himself to save his family. Yeah, it does. It completely removes the stakes. I'm not saying there were parts of it that I didn't enjoy. There are parts of it I very much did enjoy. But at the same time, there were issues. And I kind of understand Sandberg. I can't remember his name. William Sandberg, the director. I can understand his feelings about not wanting to do superhero movies anymore because there was he caught a lot of heat for this movie, and he did the best he could, to be honest, and everything. But at the same time, the movie just it's almost like they tried to retread old ground with the first movie, with Billy trying to find his family or keep his family, and the whole thing. It's all or none. Either they all become the Shazam family, or none of them do. David S. Sandberg, thank you, Mladen. Appreciate it. I knew it was Sandberg. I just couldn't remember his first name. But I don't want to sound like I'm crappy on this movie because there are parts of it I did like. But okay, like the fight at the end when the family they all lose their powers and they're having to improvise fighting all the mythical creatures, the mythological creatures, and then the unicorns, they show up, and I'll admit the design of the unicorns was actually really cool. I liked it and everything. It gave you a better idea, or it gave you a different aesthetic for the unicorns. But I think the biggest issue I had was with him trying to hang on to his family. He was hanging on too tight. And then the other brother thing, his other foster brother, Freddy, loses powers and then he gets locked in prison with the wizard. Now, I will say this. Damon Honshu as the wizard, that was a part I actually did enjoy. And particularly when you guys make over at the end and everything, he updated his look. He doesn't have the long dreadlock hair and the long beard anymore. That I did. They did, but you know what? I liked it. It looked good, and he looks like he belongs in the world now instead of being an old relic.
Yeah.
So, and I did like the concept that you had the three goddesses and everything, the daughters of a god, Atlas. And I'm glad they used a more or less well-known god as the basis for this instead of using, the god that everybody would expect, Zeus or something. I did like that aspect of it. But I think the whole thing about Billy trying to hang on to his family, it was very poorly executed, at least from my point of view it was. So, Orange, your thoughts?
This movie essentially mocks its own character as well, because they're talking about the wisdom of Solomon, and it's like, I haven't been seeing a lot of wisdom, and it's like, well, Solomon, or the wisdom of Solomon, technically means that it's master strategist. But you're also correct. It doesn't they don't really come up with a lot of great strategy. I mean, Shazam is one of the top tier heroes in the DC universe, even with the childish or the child base and origin. However, when he fully unlocks his abilities, Wisdom of Solomon basically makes him a battle genius, essentially. And that's one of the reasons why he could go toe to toe with Superman. Not only because of the magic as well, but also because he's smart.
Yeah, and I think they needed to explain, or they need to explain better what exactly the wisdom of Solomon meant. Not so much that he has worldly wisdom or that he's like super smart, but more so he has wisdom when it comes to battle tactics and strategy. That's the one thing that they don't really flesh out that particularly well until you almost have to piece it together yourself. And because he does act very immature, he does act very much like a hormonal teenager, especially when he is having dreams of him, Wonder Woman being on a date or whatever. That's a very immature, creepy, or teenagerish, horny teenager type of thing. Because let's face it, Wonder Woman's played by Gal Gadot. She's a very attractive woman, but the rest of it, it just doesn't work. And, and I don't like the fact that this movie flopped as badly as it did and everything, because it does have some actors in it that I do like. I mean, Helen Mirren, Lucy Liu. I mean, Zachary Levi. He was good in the first one, and it kind of sucks and everything that the movie didn't perform as well as it should have or could have. So,
I mean,
I by no means wanted this movie to fail, and I was going to go ahead, Orange. It's fine.
When it comes to this movie, it has its moments, but him hitting on Wonder Woman and crushing all over her and whatnot, even when she was actually there instead of in his dream, I felt like, oh my God, get me out of this scene as quickly as possible, because this is beyond cringe.
I have to agree. I have to wholeheartedly and enthusiastically agree. I mean, because it just, okay, we get it. He's a teenager. He has his superhero side, or maybe in Billy's side, has a thing for Superwoman, or that's Wonder Woman. Excuse me.
Yeah.
And it's just, now I will say the performance by Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu, and I can't remember the other actress who played
Rachel Ziegler.
Oh, Rachel Ziegler, who played Athena. Yeah, Rachel Ziegler played Athena, and their performances were actually pretty good. Everything they did a good job. Of course, you've got Helen Mirren, you've got Lucy Liu. You can't necessarily go wrong. I think you might be in the bedroom. So, talking to the missus. Sorry. Yeah. Their performances were actually really good. They had a lot of depth to them. They weren't just your generic villains and everything. They didn't want to destroy the world or rule the world. They just wanted back what was theirs, essentially. They wanted back what the wizard and his other cohorts had taken from them. They wanted to restore their world. They wanted to restore their realm. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. It just is the fact that they have to go after Shazam and the family to get back their power and get back the sept, to get back the staff and get back the apple. So there is good in Shazam too. It's just it's kind of buried.
Yeah, and she or Lucy Liu's character Calypso, she actually goes beyond because she feels the most jaded. And it's not Athena, it's Anthea. It's Anthea, not
Anthea.
Athena.
Okay, Anthea. Yeah. Okay, Anthea.
Lucy Liu's character she feels so jaded that she's like, they should suffer as we suffered. And it's like, well, fine, but you're gonna lose because of this. But another thing that I found kind of oddly interesting, but somewhat played off as convenient, was that Fred had such powerful will to literally resist absolute paralysis and dread, which is the side effects of that dragon staring you down. And it's like suddenly
Mm-hmm.
out of nowhere he's able to resist this. You had no build up to it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought to myself, okay, maybe he's a demigod. He just doesn't know it or something. Maybe maybe he's a child of or a Greek god or goddess or something, and they just never explained it because that's the only thing to me that would make any sense in that particular moment. Honestly, it just they don't flesh out why Freddy has such a strong, powerful will. I mean, for all we, as far as he is just a normal human being, same as you and me. He just has, because of what Billy did in the first movie, he has access to the powers of Shazam. Essentially,
Mm-hmm. And
it's
here's the thing:
there's no explanation for it.
somebody with that strength of will, a different, same universe but different character or character item, would have found him. You know exactly what I'm talking about. He would have or Oa would have sent a ring to Earth.
Yeah, as a Green Lantern. Yeah, absolutely. Because
I
somebody with
mean,
that strong will, they would be a excellent recruit for the Green Lantern Corps.
not only
Most
that,
definitely.
he would definitely be a recruit, but Oa literally the kind of will to stare down something that is of absolute dread and fear. Oa would have immediately keyed in on it, like, what are we sensing right now? That level of will is unheard of. I mean, I've always joked that Naruto has such a strong will that it would literally pull Oa out of its orbit.
Probably
But
would,
this,
because
yeah,
I know
but
what you're talking about.
I mean, but this, where Freddy's able to literally break through that and just defeat that kind of thing in that moment, I'm like, how is Oa not sending a ring towards Earth like a freaking meteor right now? Because holy crap, that kind of will is just beyond mortal comprehension.
It is, and yet they never explain it.
Demigods,
It goes to yeah,
only demigods usually have that strength.
yeah.
No mortal ever did. You had demigods like Hercules and Perseus and them
Mm-hmm.
that could do that. Normal humans could not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and but just a basic human being. I mean, okay, we can speculate that a normal human being could have a very strong will, but a will that powerful to overcome a mystical enchantment that will paralyze you, suck the life out of you. No,
Yeah.
that is something beyond normal human, just normal basic human will. But it's just, am I gonna sell or get rid of Shazam 2? No, because there is some good stuff in there. It's just it didn't meet the movie didn't reach its full potential. And I
No,
don't know where exactly to necessarily like lay the blame, quote unquote. It could have been something truly extraordinary, but unfortunately it just didn't get there. Anything and with as good a cast as it had, I mean, you had all the kids back from the first movie. You had both Zachary Levi and the other kid who played Billy back. You had two great old school actors and everything, Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu, and Rachel Zegler as Anthea. They all did a good job, but for some reason this movie just it didn't hit.
yeah. Well, they
likely we're
also
not going to see another
recast.
Shazam
They
for
also
quite a while.
recast Mary Marvel. They made the base young
Did
version
they?
of her into the. They made the young version of her into the adult version of her.
Oh, did they? Okay, I didn't also
Yeah,
realize that.
they fired the
So,
original one because the politics. That was the reason why they
okay.
did it.
Well, I
Was
didn't.
because of politics.
I didn't know about that. I didn't know about
Yeah,
that honestly. So
they both looked a lot like each other. But it's like, holy crap, it's barely even noticeable now.
but it's now. Can we point to say maybe that superhero in this instance, superhero fatigue was a factor in this in Shazam underperforming? Yeah, probably.
That's a
And
factor. I will admit that is one factor out of many.
but here's the thing: when you look at if you look at the other side of things, when you movies like Guardians Volume 3 and you've got Across the Spider-Verse, who did well, have done very, very well and everything, and well, one's, I think both are still in theaters. You have to ask the question, is it superhero fatigue or is it bad superhero movie fatigue and everything that people are voting with their dollars, going, I'm going to go see something good rather than spend money on something that's low quality. And I think in part it's due to the fact people are tired of bad movies. People, if they're going to spend their money on a movie, they want to spend their money on a good movie, not on a piece of crap. And back in the 80s and the 90s, when you and me were growing up, movies didn't generally underperform. And the other thing was, you didn't have a million different voices telling you, well, this movie's good, this movie's bad, this movie sucks, this movie is great.
No, people usually went by what critics said only.
Yeah, exactly. And I imagine Hell Comes to Frogtown didn't necessarily break the box office by any extent, but it obviously probably has a cult following. And does that mean that Shazam 2: Fury of the Gods isn't going to grow a cult following? It might.
It will. I mean, to be
But
completely honest, I liked Black Adam, and I really think that they need to fulfill that promise. They really do need to fulfill the promise that was at the end of that movie.
yeah, but here's the thing: they won't.
They won't.
They're going in a completely different direction.
Yeah, they kicked or they fired both of them from WB.
Yeah,
and it's like somebody needs to. What they could do is freaking fan make the movie.
Maybe, but the thing is, are you going to get? They have to get the license from Warner Brothers.
A fan-made movie does not need a license.
Movie. Right. You're thinking it's a fan movie, right? So
if they did it, and thing is, Henry Cavill and Dwayne the Rock Johnson, I'm willing to bet if somebody scrounged together like $1 million, they could actually do it.
Yeah, that's true. And I want to say hello to chat, Jeff B. Jeff, it's been a little bit. Good to see you, buddy. I'll bring up George's comment here. Bad superhero movie fatigue in my in my opinion, it's not just bad DC movies either. Ant-Man 3 should have made more money, but it was mediocre at best and not even good, even when you had Kang. George, I can't say I necessarily disagree. As much as I enjoyed Ant-Man Quantumania, Ant-Man the Wasp Quantumania, it didn't perform like they hoped. Not to mention they put it in February. Why in the world would you put a movie like this in February? It just doesn't make a lick of sense. So, and I'll bring
Can you
up this
still hear me?
comment as well. Hold on. Yeah, I can hear you, bud. Black
Okay.
Adam was decent, but there was nothing unique about it to get more people to watch it other than Cavill's cameo in the mid-credit scene. I just honestly, I wasn't that particularly interested in it. Period.
I liked
I had
when
no,
he
I had
cut loose. I liked when he cut loose after waking up
Mhm.
because it showed that this was a person that nobody could stop. This was a person that even or where a 50 caliber round could turn or could poke the jaw of Henry Cavill, a 50 caliber round
Mhm.
hitting Black Adam didn't even cause him to flinch.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how powerful this guy is. So he could definitely go toe to toe with Superman, and it would be a challenge.
Yeah, it would, and I wholeheartedly agree. And let me scroll up here a little bit so I can bring up this comment. And Milan brings up a good point too. I mean, it's superhero fatigue. People are tired of the same formula and same superhero genre to take some risks like Guardians 3 and Across the Spider-Verse. Yeah, people want something that's out of the box. They want something that's different. They want something that's fresh. They want a different take. They want a different dynamic. They don't want the same song and dance.
I mean, that's the
And
problem that Marvel did. They went in that direction. They're like, okay, well, Guardians of the Galaxy and Guardians of the Galaxy 2 did really well. We're going to use that formula for our movies going forward. And it's like, you don't get it. That formula works for them, not for every movie. You
yeah,
can't do Thor with the Guardians of the Galaxy formula. Yes, Thor Love and Thunder had the Guardians of the Galaxy in it, but Thor himself was a different character with a different personality. And you guys making him into, pardon the term, a basic bitch just doesn't work. You
yeah,
need to make him back into what he was at the first movie that came out. Thor
yeah.
1 is by far the most superior Thor film.
And I will agree in part. I mean, there are some good parts in Dark World, and I did
Yeah.
honestly, full transparency, I did enjoy Ragnarok. I thought it
Ragnarok
was.
does
I
have
think
its good moments. I will admit,
it
it does
does.
have its good moments. However, they went way too much humor in a Thor movie. You have to have the right balance.
Yeah.
Thor 1 had the right balance.
Yes.
Thor 2, they went just a tiny bit overboard, just a tiny bit. Thor 3, Taika Waititi just said, you know what, fuck it, we're going full comedy. And
that just
ruined
doesn't work.
It doesn't. I mean, you're bringing characters that I would absolutely love to see in a more serious context on screen. Or Fenris, which is Fenrir, essentially. I loved that sequence where the Hulk actually fights Fenrir. And I just wish they made different choices with the music as well, because I'm sorry, the music that when Thor just hits Hela with the mother of all lightning, I'm thinking to myself, you guys could have used a totally different song. I mean, I Need a Hero would have been totally perfect for that moment too. But you guys, there's just Taika Waititi just went wrong. And then he went even further wrong with Love and Thunder, where he couldn't even get his own character's origins remembered.
Yeah. Well, and let's I don't want this to turn into another, because everybody is talking superheroes right now. I mean, I don't mind discussing it for a little bit, but let's rewind just a little bit here. Mid 90s, mid to late 90s, they did start to do more superhero films. But at the same time, you had superhero movies that had a lot more heart and more charm to them. And there's one in particular, and I think that I think gets a lot of, I don't want to say gets a lot of hate, but gets dismissed a lot more than it should, and that's Daredevil. Now, here is a character that a lot of people know very well from the Marvel universe, and Ben Affleck did not do a bad job portraying the character, because Daredevil is a very intense, a very heavy character in terms of tone and in terms of um, subject matter, because you're dealing with a lawyer who's blind, who's fighting crime. He has a power, but it's not like Spider-Man. He's more of a street level hero. He's not like Doctor Strange or Thor even.
Yeah.
If they had grounded this character just a little bit more, made him a little more, and removed some of the humor. Okay, let's be honest here. The fight scene between Matt Murdock and Elektra in the park, that scene could have been cut completely out, because it was played way too much for laughs, because you got a blind man fighting a girl, or fighting a woman, or a woman fighting a blind man, essentially. And it just, that scene doesn't land. It shouldn't have been put into that movie in the first place.
Honestly, I thought it was perfect because it showed that she found somebody who was actually not, or who was actually able to step up to her. That's why she actually had a smile on her face when he told her, "Don't hold back."
Fair enough.
I've seen both versions of it, where there's the director's cut and the theatrical cut. The theatrical cut has a freaking sex scene in it, where the director's cut actually took that scene out. And I'm thinking to myself, well, there's something you don't see every day.
Yeah. Because let's be honest, there aren't, in superhero movies, there aren't very many sex scenes or any type of romantic scene. Well, okay, not sex scenes, period.
Yeah.
The last one that we have gotten, and I know some people don't care for this movie. I personally enjoyed it and everything. That was the Eternals, the one that Chloe Zhao directed. She took a risk on having a love scene between two of the main characters, and I think, granted, there was no nudity to it and everything, but the fact that they had a scene like that in a Marvel movie, that was risky. But I think that was the type of risk people were okay with, because it was handled in a very mature way. You know, something that I have seen. Go ahead, Orange.
I will say that the Eternals had a few good moments.
Yeah.
The moments where the Celestials were in them, great moments. Especially when you see Arishem in the sky where the frickin' storm clouds part. That is a beautiful sequence, because it's like, how do you react to something like that, you know?
Yeah. I agree.
And it seems that the delay finally fixed itself. But yeah, I mean, I'm like, I'm sorry, if I'm any normal human being and I see that in the sky, I'm having total intestinal evacuation.
I think most people would.
I'm both shitting and pissing myself. I'm sorry, folks. If I see this thing that could literally hold the planet in the palm of its hand, I would probably not know how to handle that.
Well, and that's the thing. They with the Eternals, they were actually able to finally bring the Celestials onto the board in a proper way. Not have them
True.
just as a little scene in the side to the side like they did in Guardians 1, where you see a Celestial using the Power Stone or anything like that. But actually, you see the Celestials as a prominent part of the MCU.
Yeah.
And you know, there's a way they could have done that scene practically. I mean, because let's be honest here. Let's rewind to like the 1980s and talk about the evolution of practical effects just in that particular decade. You had a lot of advancement with practical and CGI being blended together. I mean, okay, one movie that I love the practical effects and the digital effects that were
One moment.
absolutely
I'm
just
gonna dip out first and try to fix my camera, and then I'll be right back.
okay. You're fine. I'll just keep going. You're fine, bud.
Yeah, keep going.
Okay. And this is a movie that I've discussed at least a little bit or anything on here, and that's The Abyss. Great movie from the 1980s, from the late 1980s. Of course, everybody knows James. It's a James Cameron flick, and I will say this: James Cameron's work in the 1980s and the 1990s is some of the best cinema that I've ever seen. And I've done I did my whole director spotlight on James Cameron. Y'all can go watch that. But specifically with The Abyss, it was one of the. It was a movie that really started to explore the concept of CGI effects being used in film, not just all practical effects. And if you can't do it practically, you don't do it at all. James Cameron really wanted to push the envelope with CGI effects, special effects, computer generated effects. And you had the water tentacle, you had the water tentacle changing faces where it looked like Bud or it looked like Mary Elizabeth Master Antonio's character. And for the late 1980s, it worked. It really worked. That was honestly the first movie for me, except for maybe like Terminator 2 Judgment Day, where we saw any type of lengthy use of CGI effects. But it didn't look out of place, even though it was very basic CGI effects. But if you look at what we're capable of doing now with CGI effects,
No, it's better now.
it is a huge quantum leap from the late 1980s to now. The only thing that stings is I think in a lot of ways CGI special effects have made some studios and some movie makers a bit lazy. Not all of them, but some of them have made them a bit lazy and haven't made them really think about how can I do this practically instead of doing it in a computer. I mean, Orange, you and I are fairly close in age. We grew up in an era where computer generated
effects were very
graphics
well done. Yeah.
Well, and even before that, they weren't even an option or anything, and people had to studios, directors, everything really had to think about how can we do this in another fashion, or do we just cut it out entirely?
Yeah, because I mean, look at Gremlins and Gremlins 2. Gremlins 1, the puppets that they had.
Mm-hmm.
Notice the different angle work they do, folks. When it comes to Gizmo, any shot of Gizmo from the back is a puppet that you could pick up and use. Every shot from Gizmo from the front, the reason why you can't pan around Gizmo is because there's wire sticking out of his ass, quite literally.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, I mean, they actually cared about movie magic back in the day. Now, it's nothing but digital this, digital that. One of the movies that I really appreciate, or a franchise that I really appreciate, as flawed as it is the Underworld franchise, where they actually still use digital, or not digital, but they still use digital in it, but they went practical with people in suits, where you can, or the only problem is they went totally inconsistent with the Lycans in every freaking movie. I wish they had actually stayed kind of consistent with that, but that would require a lot of digital changes nowadays. I mean, if they were to redo the Underworld franchise, I'm pretty sure they would actually, now that, or they would recognize the mistakes they made in the trilogy and make them consistent, more consistent now, because you had the more hairless like Lycans in the first one. You gave them a little bit more hair in the second one, and those were the ones that looked more like the Lycans that were not turning, or that couldn't go back to human form. But then you have the werewolf, or the werewolves that William turned, that actually look like William, and it's like, I just wish that they had stayed consistent, but they were constant. That was a series, or a franchise that was constantly evolving their techniques, and it's like, it's a great series. You screwed up with the werewolves and the Lycans.
Yeah. And do want to say hello to the chat. Mega J1 Media. Good to see you, buddy. The most I remember from Gremlins is Hulk Hogan telling them to stop ruining the movie. Yeah, that was from the second movie, Gremlins 2, The New Batch. And you have the usher coming in and everything. He's like, excuse me, Mr. Hogan, can you do something about this? And he actually does the whole thing where he rips his shirt off, and he's like, listen, brother, you don't want the Hulkster to come up there and mess with the Grimsters. So leave the movie alone and let him play. And he looks at the camera, he breaks the fourth wall, and he's like, sorry, folks, won't happen again.
Oh my god, I'm gonna have to rewatch that movie now.
Gremlins 2, The New Batch. Here's the thing. This was several years ago. I found in one of the bins at Walmart, and it was a 3-pack. It was Goonies, Gremlins, and Gremlins 2, The New Batch. I think I got it for like $7 or $8. I remember going to see Gremlins 2 with Mother Ambassador back in the day, and she's like, do you really want to see this? I was like, yeah, I want to see what they do. And you've got I can't remember the name of the actor, but you've got Clamp, who's essentially a stand-in for Trump. The industrialist Clamp, everything, because it takes place in New York City. You've got Clamp Tower or Clamp Plaza or whatever it's called. And you've got cameos by John Aston. You've got a cameo by Christopher Lee. There are some things that shouldn't be spliced. I realize that now. Yeah. That was a line that Christopher Lee actually said.
Yep.
And I'm like, that's Dracula. That's the man with the golden gun. And later on, we would come to know as both Count Dooku and Saruman from Lord of the Rings. But I mean, this man who Lee,
he just improves everything that he is in.
Including Gremlins 2, The New Batch.
Yeah. And I mean, I just recently rewatched Sleepy Hollow after 23 years. And
I just rewatched that myself.
Yeah, I saw it in 2000. It was a year after the movie came out. And
I saw it in theaters.
Yeah, I'm thinking to myself, Christopher Lee, as briefly as he is in this, he just does that role so well as that judge. Or as that arbiter.
Judge, yeah.
Yeah.
And we have a question from Elysium, I think,
called Sleepy Hollow.
Sleepy Hollow.
He just says that. He just says it with such gravitas, you know?
He does. And we have a question from Elysium. Do you think Gremlins should be my kids' first Christmas movie, or should it be Die Hard? Elysium, my friend, Gremlins. Enthusiastically, Gremlins.
No.
Yes. Yes.
Gremlins
Yes.
has the no Santa Claus thing in it.
Doesn't matter. He has Santa Claus. It does have Santa Claus in it.
No, Gremlins has that very sad story, and that's when I realized there's no such thing as Santa Claus.
Oh, right. Okay, Die Hard.
Die Hard has boobs in it.
I don't care. They can decide for the Elysium and his wife
Hey,
can
man,
decide for themselves.
Mountain of Elysium. How old are your kids?
Oh, they're expecting.
Oh, they're expecting. Okay. Let's see here. Lethal Weapon also has boobs in it.
And Mega J 1 has a good point here. Mega J has a good point. The violence isn't so scary. That is true. But
that is true.
Let's be honest here, also. But let's be honest as well. Gremlins has one of the greatest owned scenes in all of cinema when Mrs. Deagle gets launched out of the window.
Yes, it does. Now, I'm not. Or I grew up in the '80s, folks, and the '90s, where you could show these kind of movies to kids and they wouldn't scare them. I mean, unless you're a little baby like my older brother, who would literally get scared if you did the Gremlins theme, or if you started humming the Gremlins theme. And it exactly, he would freak out over that.
At least I know you're joking, but
yeah,
no, you do not ruin that.
So Santa,
there is a Santa Claus.
Could save me. There is, yes. You don't ruin that for kids.
No. Wait till they're older.
Yeah, at least till they're teens, man. At least till they're 18, then you ruin it for them. But honestly, let me go to my voodoo, because I have a bunch of Christmas movies that aren't Christmas movies that are Christmas movies. Yes. You know,
and two of them are Gremlins and Die Hard.
Yeah, two of them are Gremlins, Die Hard. Another great one that I like is Violent Night, the one that recently came out last year with David Arbor and John Leguizamo. I am like, oh my god, that is just like pure perfection. I love this movie. I mean, when Santa Claus freaking hurls on a woman on a rooftop, that's gold standard. When he's taking a piss in Washington, D.C., that's gold standard, especially during the Biden administration.
Yes.
I mean, it's like, oh my god, that is just pure greatness. But I'm sorry, folks, I had to throw that in there.
No,
it's just wicked. Those are lists. There it is. It just loaded. So hold on. Let me give you I have a list of Christmas. One great thing about Voodoo, and I'm gonna give my little promotion for them, folks. Voodoo Fandango is actually if you are doing a digital library, go with them, because they have they have a lot of selections that other digital library areas don't do.
Hey, Elysium, right here, but skip the second one, because the second one's just a repeat of the first one with the same gags, only it's set in New York. As far as I'm concerned, there's only one Home Alone movie. That's Home Alone 1. That's it.
Home Alone 2 was great. Don't you freaking knock that movie. Okay, here's my list of
it sucks.
Here's my list of 15 Christmas movies. The Harry Potter movies, 1 through or all 8 of them. Krampus, Lethal Weapon.
Never seen it. Yes.
Prometheus. Die Hard.
How is Prometheus a Christmas movie?
Because it was taking place during Christmas.
How so?
They wake up out of cryo sleep, and she's like, "What is that? It's Christmas time. We gotta have the holidays to let us know what that time's still running."
Oh, that's right, because there's a tree, isn't there?
Yeah, and then there's Violent Night, Die Hard 2, Die Hard, and Batman Returns.
I just recently did a stream here's the thing. I never particularly cared for, and I'm not going to rehash the thing, because you can all go watch that stream and everything where I talk about Batman and Batman Returns. For the longest time, I never cared for Batman Returns. I didn't hate it or anything. I just didn't particularly care for it as much as I liked Batman 89. But after rewatching it, and watching the making of, I have a very newfound appreciation for Batman Returns, and it's now like in my top 5. Okay, let's be honest here. There are only 6 decent Batman movies. Yep, I remember. Yep,
No,
I know.
I'm showing the chat.
Oh. It's Batman 89, Batman Returns, Batman Forever, then Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises. To me, that's the 6 best Batman movies.
I liked Batman Begins more, or Batman Begins and Dark Knight. I like more than Dark Knight Rises. Dark Knight Rises is good, but I'm thinking to myself, it was just a step down.
Fair enough. But the other thing that I have noticed, and I hope this is a continuing trend, people are going more for more one-off stories rather than franchises.
Yeah.
In films nowadays, because if you look at it over the last few months or anything, or even over the first part of this year, some of the more profitable and well received movies don't come from long running franchises. I mean, John Wick 4 did good. John Wick Chapter 4 did very good, but John Wick is not a long running franchise. Across the Spider-Verse is part 2 of 3. Now, granted, it's from a character that everybody knows, and that is, of course, Spider-Man, but it still did well. Very well. And everything from what I understand, it's still going strong. But here's another one that may be a standalone, but may get a future sequel, and that's Super Mario Brothers. You're seeing a repeat of a pattern that was more prevalent when you and I were kids. And that's the success of the one-off movie. Not part of a broader franchise or part of a limited franchise. And doing extremely well. I mean, okay, another one and everything. This came out a couple years ago, and that's Top Gun Maverick. It only had one movie prior, and it did gangbusters at the box office. And I went and saw it in theaters. I was like, hell yeah, this was damn good. I loved Top Gun. I loved Top Gun Maverick. I never actually did a review of it, but Top Gun Maverick was damn good. And everything. Yep. And granted, they didn't have the one girl back. They had Jennifer Connelly instead. But honestly, I didn't care about the girl. I was more interested in the story. And I think the story that they crafted for Top Gun Maverick fit perfectly with the first movie. There was a good through line here. You had Goose's son trying to get into the program, trying to become a pilot, and you had Maverick, Tom Cruise's character, holding him back because he doesn't want what happens to happen to Goose to happen to his son. But the son is resentful of Maverick for doing it to him.
Yep. Well, it did set his career back 4 years. I mean, if you want to talk what is known as a perfect sequel, Top Gun Maverick is that perfect sequel. And
just about.
Because here's the thing, Top Gun is good. Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
However, they should have taken out the romantic element. There was no need to pull a Mary Kay Letourneau. I'm sorry. But it's just, I mean, don't get me wrong. Kelly McGillis back then was...
She was a babe.
She was back then. Babe. You look at her now, it's she's spoiled like sour milk. But
yeah, unfortunately.
This one, bringing back a character who was only merely mentioned and making her into a the main. I mean, I understand that they did another romantic thing, but they did it because he wanted something beyond, because he was getting out. He's getting out of the Navy. That was his whole thing. They were trying to get him out of the Navy, and now he has no more protection in the Navy. They can give him a Silver Star or whatever they do for Air Force or for Navy or for the Navy, and then he would be completely out and let the new generation take over. However, and they can go, or they could stop there. There doesn't need to be a sequel. However, they have it set up to where a storyline from Maverick could turn into a sequel, which is the unmanned program that Admiral
Mhm.
Kane wanted. I mean, that's where I see it could go, and they can have Maverick one last time showing up, or this time showing up an AI pilot instead.
Mhm.
I mean, that would be the perfect thing. It's like, you guys all want to protest AI, make a Maverick movie where he kicks the crap out of an AI. There you go.
And well, and I'll bring up Mega J's comment here, because as someone who's also working on his own story, I can appreciate this. I'm hoping my story can become a long running franchise, but I gotta make a good story first.
I got my own thing that
That's
I'm trying to do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think we all do. I mean, mine's gonna be Star Wars. I don't know what yours is, Mega Jetty, but I
he's doing a
think all
Terminator
of us.
thing, I think.
Oh, is he? Okay, cool. Right on.
Yeah,
Everybody loves
Meg
Terminator.
Jetty is one of the best, or one of the
Oh,
bigger Terminator fans out there.
yeah, yeah. I remember that. Everything. It's been a while since I've talked to you, Mega J, but I do
Time's up.
remember how much of a Terminator fan you are. I do want to bring up Elysium's. I want to bring Elysium's comment back up here. Some franchises are worth the investment. Most are not. I will be looking forward to Lethal Weapon 5, especially as Mel Gibson is due to direct it, as far as I know.
Yeah,
Lethal Weapon 4 was good. Lethal Weapon 4 was really, really. Oh, I didn't mean to bring that up. So
I don't see
uh
how. I don't see the huge problem that they had with it.
so
I
I didn't
don't.
have a problem with Lethal Weapon 4. Me and Mother Ambassador went and saw it in theaters, and we're like, hey, that was good. And if that was their send off, it was a damn good send off.
I mean, everybody's like, why such hate for the movie? And it's like, you're painting China in a bad light. Look at fucking China right now. I mean, maybe not back then, but look at them right now.
Yes.
I have no objections. And
So,
apparently, neither did the Asian cast.
hmm?
Just saying.
Mine's original. It's inspired by many things called Blue Shogun.
Oh, okay,
Cool.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I like
Anyways,
that.
I'm sorry to do this, but I do got to bounce.
Well, I'm gonna wrap up here anyway because we've got to have
All
dinner.
right.
Because I know you've got your stream, but I don't. I don't. These are going to be around an hour and a half, maybe sometimes 2 hours long. Or anything. I don't want them to be super long streams. So, but everybody tonight, make sure you go over check out Orange Hat's channel and everything. He's continuing his MCU Sundays review. They're going to be covering
Civil War.
Captain America: Civil War. So be sure to check that out. I won't be there tonight. I'm just it's a little bit of housekeeping for those of you who might be wondering why I haven't streamed in a couple weeks. One, I had no internet because we had some storms come through and they got knocked out. Two, I'm also having I've got issues. Most of you know I've got issues with my back and my arthritis is acting up. I'm hoping by the middle of next week I'll be doing better because I'm getting shots in my back. But I do want to let you all know I am going to be streaming on more. Now that we have internet again, I'll be streaming on a more regular schedule. Actually, tomorrow night, me and the First Lady of the Ambassadorial Wing, Madam Ambassador, will be live. We're going to be doing our part 2 of 2 um, um, excuse me, disaster movies from the 1990s reviews. We're going to be discussing Volcano and Dante's Peak. So that'll be at 8:30 tomorrow night.
Great movies.
Hey, if you want to jump on, buddy, I'll have the link in the chat. It ain't going to be just me and her. It's anybody who wants to join.
I'll have to see if I can
Also,
find Volcano again because
been a
I
while
want.
since you've seen it.
It has. Last time I saw it, I believe it was just coming out on VHS.
Wow, we got it on. I actually found a copy of it on DVD for like $3.
Nice.
But I'm also going to be starting a brand new review series with this fella right over here and a few of the friends or anything. We're going to be doing a review series of all 7 seasons and all 5 seasons of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel. So we're working out the details on that, and that'll be starting later this month. So keep your eyes on that. And I've got some other review series, movie review series I'm going to be doing. So keep your eyes on my social media, both on Twitter and on Instagram. And I'll keep y'all posted and everything as those come up. So also got some good stuff planned for August. We're going to be doing a review series of the Hunger Games for Madam Ambassador's birthday because she loves Hunger Games and so do I. And September is going to be, as also, well, you know, is my birthday month. So this September, we're going a little bit more sci-fi, and that's all I'll say. But you all have a great afternoon or great evening wherever you're at. Of course, you catch us on the replay. Leave your comments down below with anything myself or Orange or the chat brought up. And y'all have a great night. We'll see you next time. And until next time, these are the ambassadors. Signing off.
It is, bro.
Let's be friends.
Have you not?